Hey y'all, welcome to my first podcast. Season 1, episode 1 of Talk Yo Shit. I am Diamond. I am your host. I am a stylist and style coach and confidence coach. And I have my own brand called Diamond REL. I created this podcast to encourage my Black people and my people of color, entrepreneurs and career-driven individuals to talk their shit, to really own their talents, own who they are, and to take up all the space that they deserve. So I hope this podcast is an example and motivates you to never sell yourself short, to remember who you are, your talents, your skills, what you bring to the table, and that you are worthy. You do have value. You have hella value to offer, and no one can take that from you.
Period.
So today, you're going to hear from my bestie. Love him.
My name is Mark, and yes, Diamond and I are besties, and I just want to start with why I'm doing this podcast, and I'm doing this podcast because I just feel like we all deserve a seat at the table. And for those of us who have been in positions where we didn't have much access, or there were just a lot of things that we were dealing with or going through, and we did not really have anyone to advocate for us to make that space, I feel like this podcast is something where we are making space for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something that I want to be a part of. And that's something that I have done for myself quite a lot, where I didn't feel like there was space being made for me. I took initiative to make space for myself, or to pull up a seat, to have the audacity to grab a chair and pull it to the table and be like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to sit down here because I deserve to be here. And for me, this is just such a wonderful and amazing opportunity to be a part of something like Talk Yo Shit, where we are creating space. We're creating a table for ourselves and for other people like us to just have that audacity, to build that confidence, and to know that they have the ability, they have the control, and they also have what it takes to be in any room or any space that they deserve to be a part of. So there is no such thing as like, I was in this room that I didn't deserve to be. It's like, no, you did. You deserve to be in that room, and you don't need to be having all of like the credentials or having all the accolades or, whatever. It's like, it is possible for you to be able to just be a part of any kind of space, and to be in any room, to be part of any club, to be part of any initiative. That's why I'm here.
And it took me years to get to that point, years to realize that I do deserve to be in this space. I deserve to make money. I deserve to be an entrepreneur. I deserve to just be who I am and be fucking amazing at it.
And you're fucking amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. And you need people like this who reminds you that you are fucking amazing. And if you surround yourself with people who are thinking small, who are constantly talking down on you, you're going to find yourself deep in the hole. You're going to find yourself thinking that you can't do it, and you're just going to be coasting through your life unhappy. So you have those negative people around you. You need to change that energy, because that plays a big part. Who your top 5 people that you hang around, the energy that you bring around, that really is going to define your success. And it's going to define whether or not you make it. And baby, we don't have time to not make it, because we don't have time. So what do you do, Mark?
Yeah. Yes.
What do you, please tell the people what you do. He's dope.
I would love to share. So I am the editor-in-chief and design director of Done the Magazine. Done is a social justice publication created for and by the underrepresented, and it came out of wanting to, again, create that space for myself, because I wasn't seeing that space authentically being made for other people like me in corporate America or in other publishing empires. So I wasn't going to sit around and wait for a handout or wait for someone to actually like start giving a shit. Toni Morrison once said that if there is a book that you want to read but it hasn't been written yet, you need to be the one to write that book. And for me, once I read that quote, I was like, bet. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm also not going to sit here and say that that was something that was just so easy to do. It wasn't. It was very uncomfortable. There was a lot of second guessing myself. There was a lot of, is this something that people care about? And I had to honestly just take a step back and be like, well, is this something that matters to me? It really needed to start there. And I mean, I came to the conclusion that, yes, this is something that really matters to me, because I'm sick and tired of reading these articles or seeing imagery, retouching that just honestly does not represent who I am, does not represent my community, does not represent other people such as myself who have been in this industry for a long time, the creative industry, any industry, health, pharmaceuticals, engineering, it doesn't matter. It's like we've been on the scene. We've been here for so long, but we just were never provided the representation. We were not accepted. There was systemic, there's just a lot of systemic planning put in place that kept us outside of what was going on, because, I mean, the system wasn't set up to include us, I mean, other than to be slaves. And our ancestors liberated us from that. And so today, I feel like I really have such an opportunity and even a duty to continue to live in my truth, to be my full, wholehearted self. Because a long time ago, 150 years ago, I mean, in the 60s or in the 70s, it was extremely hard for Black people and for people of color to work their way up the social ladder. There were people who did it, but it was not easy. You know, it took a lot for them to do. And so it's like all of that was inspiration for me. And it's like history has always been a source of information for me. I'm someone who does find a lot of inspiration in things. However, there needs to be information in tandem with inspiration, because if you're just inspired by something, then, I mean, you're just looking at things from the surface level. You're just focused on the top of the iceberg. You know, it's like information is everything beneath that iceberg. It's like inspiration leads to cultural appropriation, and we have enough of that in fashion. Right? Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's like we have enough of that. We deal with enough of that, you know, in every aspect of the creative industry and even outside of it in other practices. It's wild. And that credit is not provided. So that's why I work on Done. That's why it's something that is just so dear to me. It's something that I take very seriously. And I am working on the 3rd issue, and I'm honestly just kind of letting it take its time to manifest, because I feel like what is a part of corporate publishing is that it's just so quick and so fast paced. And I found with that it can lessen quality all around, with writing, editing, retouching, just image making in general, design as well. As like, yes, there's like a lot of award-winning great design and image making that's happening in those fast-paced environments. However, it's like, what quality of timelessness does it all really have, though? You know, it doesn't really maintain, you know, that kind of a quality. So that's why I'm really passionate about the magazine, and I've spent a lot of time talking about it just because it's so dear. It's so dear to me, you know, and it's something that just really matters to me. And I mean, aside from running Done, I am also the digital art director at
you are.
D Magazine.
Yes, you
and
are.
that was a recent job that I had taken up in December of 2022. And it has been an amazing experience. Thus far, I've been learning so much. It's been fabulous.
I love that for you. What I find really inspirational about Mark. Okay, there's a lot. It's a lot I find inspiration about this nigga. But one main thing is that I love about him is that when he sees a need, he sees there is something empty. He sees a gap. He fills that gap. So Done the magazine is fucking amazing, by the way. Go buy you a copy. I'll put the link in the comments or link in the description, whatever. But what he does with this magazine is something that's that's magical, that has never been done before.
I see
what I did there. Did you catch it? If you didn't catch it, rewind it and then catch it. You know what I'm saying? But when he sees there is a gap or that there's not space at the table, he brings his own table. He pulls up his own chair and he makes space for himself, for other people to really thrive. And I really love that about him. And I really think in order for people of color and Black people to win, we need to create our own tables and bring other people along that table to really thrive, because that's how we're going to make it. That's how we're going to kill this systematic racism and kill all the corporate America. We have to make space for each other in order for us to really be able to showcase our talents and our skills.
Yeah.
1000%. Amazing. Cut.
So with that said,
yes,
I have a question for you, because I need y'all to know.
That's crazy.
I need y'all to know who she is too.
You.
I know that you know that this is her podcast, but there is so much more to who Diamond is. And so, Diamond, my question to you is...
Me.
Why did you want to start this podcast? And just tell us like a little bit about like where you have come from, like what your journey has been as a part of that.
Yeah. So side note, in case I didn't know, he's basically my co-host, but without the title. So he'll be here frequently. You'll see him pop up in episodes just because he's amazing. So why I wanted to start a podcast, because kind of like I mentioned, my favorite thing about Mark is that when he sees a gap, sees a need, he finds a way to fill it. And so I saw in podcasts the need for Black entrepreneurs and people of color and people who are in the workforce to really have a space to talk explicitly about their talents, about themselves, about who they are, to really be able to just develop a community and also really benefit them, you know, to help with their businesses and, you know, who they are and help, you know, elevate them. And I just really wanted to make a space for other people. I pull inspiration from OG auntie, internet auntie, Rachel Rogers. I love her, and I'm actually part of her club. But I just love her mission to just help to make Black people, people of color, queer people who are disadvantaged, who are marginalized, who are disabled, just help them make money. Because in order for us to succeed, in order for us to make a difference, we need money. We need community. And another person I pull inspiration from is Lovey Ajayi Jones, also internet auntie. And they like did an episode together, and I like died right there on the floor, came back to life and died again because it was so powerful. Energy. It was amazing. It was energy. And if y'all happen to listen to this and y'all know them, just, you know, send them my way. You know what I'm saying? But a little bit about my background. I grew up in Southern Illinois. Don't ask the city because it's not relevant and it won't matter. But, I mean, if you want to know the city, you can slide in my DMs. But I grew up in Southern Illinois, and it was very hard for me, honestly, being that my dad left when I was younger. It's a very prominent white city, and I just felt alone. I also grew up under the Bible Belt. And baby, if you know about the Bible Belt, you know how tight that belt can get, okay? No breathing. No breathing. You can't even watch Harry Potter because, you know, witches and Satan. But best believe I did watch Harry Potter.
Fully cinched.
Fully cinched.
Fully cinched.
You know how snatched y'all waists be? That's how snatched this belt was.
Tighter than a corset.
Tighter
than a corset.
Tighter. And it's just like, I felt like I didn't have the space to be myself. And so I chose to be someone else. And I wasn't happy. I didn't know who I was, and I couldn't even figure out how to. I didn't have that space to figure out who I was. Love my mother. She's amazing. Love my mother. But I felt like she was too hard on me to the point where she suffocated me. And so I didn't have the space to discover who I was. And so as this weird, awkward-ass kid, I would wear weird outfits trying to figure out who I was and get judgment or whatever, but it's okay because I was like, I'm being myself. I refused to wear this size 0 Hollister shirt. Moment of silence. But but yeah, it was an interesting childhood, and not having my dad around. That also, sparked a lot of loneliness of why doesn't anyone want me? Why do I feel like I don't belong? What is wrong with me? So I spent my childhood all awkward and just trying to figure out who I was. Dealt with depression, got suicidal. So that was my kind of experience growing up. And then I went off to college and kind of started surrounding myself with people more and getting out of that depression, getting out of, not feeling like I belong to understanding that I do belong. Met some great people, still connect with them today. Also met my man, but anyway, curved him the first time. Well, that's another story. You might meet him in the future. I don't know. And then after I graduated college, I decided to move to Berlin, Germany. Y'all, I left the continent. Sometimes you need to leave where you're from in order to figure out who you are. And so I decided to leave, move to Berlin for 2 years. Your girl learned German. Don't try to speak to me. I mean, I understand. I haven't used it in a minute. You know what I'm saying? So don't expect a good response, but know that I know what you're saying. So I hope you understand English. But yeah, when I was in Berlin, I met some great people. I really got to surround myself with my people. I surrounded myself with Nigerians, with Kenyans, and just made great connections. And I really needed that to find out who I was and realize that I do need a community. I do need people who are always backing you up, who are always hyping you up, even when you don't feel like you deserve it. And developing those relationships really just pushed me into, all right, it's time for you to go full into yourself. What do you want to do? So I started styling. I started doing fashion styling. I started doing editorials and just doing photo shoots, and launched my website, launched a brand. And when I tell you that the church people were screaming because, baby, my first editorial was with a queer goddess, okay? She likes all pronouns. So if I switch, I'm going to do it. What you going to do about it? Not shit. Okay. So they did voguing.
Period.
I don't even know the proper term for that. Like, what would you call them? Just vogue, like drag? I'm not sure the word. You would call people who...
They vogue.
Vogue? Okay. She vogued. Okay. And it was a great experience for me. Loved them. They were just genuine. They were wild, just fabulous. And that was my first editorial, and my first editorial got published in a local magazine. And I was super proud of this moment, super excited, and I posted it. When I tell you, the Catholics, the Christians, the traditional, the Presbyterian, when I tell you they slid in my comments, my DMs, even the pastor wanted to have a talk with me about it. I was just like, I don't know what you want me to do, because didn't you say we're supposed to reach all people, but you don't want to be around these people? Silence, And so that, it was just like, you can say what you want. If you don't like it, you can just, remove. I don't know what to tell you.
Log out, unsubscribe.
Log out. I even sent a long email to a long email to a couple that I had grew up with or that I had grown with in college, because they just didn't think that I was allowed to really be vocal about the Black issue that's constantly the issue, but the Black Lives Matter. When Asians had that time where they were, getting a constant hate, and it was like all the hate crimes, they're still getting it. I'm not saying they're not, BB, but it was at the point when it was at a really high point. And my Asian best friend that lives in Berlin, I felt like I really needed to, emphasize the fact, like, why do they hate us? Like, what's the point? You want all the culture, you want the food, you want the clothes, you want everything, but you don't want us. How does that work? And so you really need to just be able to cut off those people who do not support you, who do not bring you up, who in turn want to bring you down and always have something negative to say. So, So I learned to take that negativity, eat it up, spit it out, and move on. And I no longer, you can't pay me enough to give me a headache. You can't offer me enough to give me a headache. So if you are stressing me out and causing me to doubt myself, you're removed. And we need to learn that.
Yeah.
Mark has removed some people.
I have.
From his life. I have witnessed it.
Even recently. Like very recently.
Baby.
Because, you know, we don't need to be in environments where we feel like we need to beg for understanding.
Yes.
We deserve to be around people who just get us.
Yes. And the point of this podcast, you won't need to beg for understanding because you're already understood.
Period.
I can end the podcast right here.
Yeah. Okay, so we just spoke a lot about finding your people and how important it is to be in an environment with people who get you and that uplift you, that love you for who you are, your tribe. In essence, it's like having that good group of people close to you that truly believe in you and love on you no matter what. And so that really sounds like something that you found overseas when you were in Germany. And a lot of those people, I remember you had told me in the past that you had worked with them too. Like, and you had done a plethora of projects from styling for editorial shoots to even bleeding into like video productions too. So what led you into styling? Like what about styling was something that just like pulled you in?
What I loved about fashion styling was the fact that I could be creative, that I could create something that no one else has. It allowed me to be open-minded, to be individual, to not worry too much about, is this perfect? But especially as a stylist, you actually create the eye for detail. So like you nitpick everything, which can be good and bad. But but I loved that creative outlet. I loved the result. The results were always like super exciting. It was always like, wow, I did that. Like I did that.
Hell yeah.
I did that motherfucker. I did that, you know?
Period.
And that was a great feeling. And just seeing the person who I was styling, how happy they were afterwards, how confident they felt. And so I think from going from that was, side note, I always wanted to be a stylist growing up. I always wanted to be in fashion. But I was always told that I could never do it because you wouldn't make enough money. You won't make money. Like, you won't make enough money, you know, being in the fashion industry, so you should be a nurse. So that kind of crushed me. Like, oh, maybe they're right. I can't be, you know, in fashion. I can't be a stylist. And so let me go figure out something else. And I always found my way back to fashion in some way. I always found my way back to putting together outfits, whether it was weird or, you know, different. I always find my way back to it. And if you feel like there is something, you know what your desire is. You know there's something is pulling you in that direction, but you keep ignoring it. If you feel that pull, lean into that. Discover what that is, because that could be your superpower. That could be the thing that will help you take off. And so what I found with fashion styling is like, even though I love the creative outlet, and I'll still do it to this day. I'll still do photo shoots to this day. I will dress Rihanna to this day. Also, if you know Rihanna, you know where to point her.
Period.
Just saying. Even though I love that, I was missing. I'm like, okay, I want to do something that really has an impact. I want to work with everyday people. I want to work with people who are insecure, who are lost, who feel like that there is something greater that they are meant for. So right now, my target market, the people that I work with are entrepreneurs, women of color, Black women, especially. And my mission is to help audacious women achieve their style desires through either my program that I have called Stylish Badass or just one-to-one personal styling. And it's to help them gain the confidence to unapologetically show up as themselves, to take up space, to own the room. Because we deserve to have good style. You deserve to show up as your best self. You deserve to love every inch of yourself, have a great mindset, be confident about who you are. Because once you are confident, once you dress accordingly to who you are, you truly feel aligned with yourself. And when you are aligned with yourself, shit happens. Shit happens. And you would be amazed at just the results that I've experienced with clients that I work with. So I love I love styling people. I love just helping them change their mindset about what they can wear and who they are, because there are limitations in style. Like you figure out like, I probably shouldn't wear that cut because it doesn't really align to, it doesn't really accentuate, parts of my body that I want to be accentuated. But when I say limited mindset, is the fact that people think they can't wear certain things because of an influencer or because someone told them to. It's always something in the back of our mind that inner critic that's like, you can't wear that. But it's like, no, you can wear that. And bitch, you can wear it better. Have you met Rihanna? Okay.
Confidence has no competition.
Let that sink in. Say that again. I don't think they heard you.
I'm going to say it louder.
Say it with your chest.
I'm going to say it louder for everybody.
All your chest.
Confidence has no competition.
None. None.
Period.
None.
Period.
So, yes. Okay. I love that.
For you, and what I love that you're talking about in terms of styling is that you're not just focused on like the outward appearance. You're not just focused on how like a garment accentuates someone's like physical structure. You're also focused on the psychological aspects of it too, because then that does bleed into confidence. That does bleed into mindset.
Yeah,
because
how you show up.
I personally have found myself in positions where I would second guess or I would triple guess myself. Because I'm thinking, is this too much? Be
too much.
Say that louder.
Be too much. Never ask, are you too much? Because you are... Hold on. Never ask or think that you are doing too much. People around you are not doing enough. They're not doing enough. Be the most. Do the most. And if someone has something to say about it, block them. Like, I don't, Yes.
I mean, it's like if people think that we're too much, then, oh, well, I guess go ask or find less.
Period.
Moment of silence.
They don't even deserve a moment of silence. They don't even deserve a moment.
You know what? Energy.
Because you are the moment. But...
Period.
Yes.
But right now, you are having a moment.
Oh.
And so...
I am having a moment.
It's fine. I am the moment. And together we are a movement. We are a moment and a movement. Period.
And I love that.
Period.
Get you people who want to be in a movement, who want to, what's that word? Movement? Increase. It's like
increase.
Increase. Yes, we don't decrease for anyone.
No.
We always grow. Always.
Grow. Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high.
High. But sometimes you might have to take a couple steps low because some people you might have to. Sometimes if people go low, you might have to go lower because these people try you.
It is. Listen, some things are situational. That is acceptable.
You know what I'm saying? But don't go to jail. You know what I'm saying? Don't point them back to this podcast saying that I told you to kill them because I didn't. But I'm just saying that there's a little shank. You know what I'm saying? Then okay. Just kidding.
We're not encouraging you to be murderers. Just murder people with your intelligence and your outfit.
Choose violence.
Always. Anyways. So, yes, just returning to the topic of like how you are also focused on how someone inwardly perceives themselves and taking into account how that affects how they present themselves outwardly into the world.
Yeah.
Have you yourself, like in your journey of, because you had talked about how you would wear things that other people didn't agree on or just for yourself. Do you believe that played an influence as to how you started to approach other people and help them realize their confidence?
Yes. So I realized that I needed to be confident in myself before I can coach other women to be confident in themselves. And I wasn't fully confident in myself until the summer of 2020. we all know 2020. How hell broke loose.
The panorama.
The panorama came around. Miss Coriana, we don't like her. Miss Coriana decided to make her appearance and stay longer than she was, allowed to stay. And there was a point, I was in Europe still, and there was a point where I went on vacation because, they had a little window like, oh, you can travel now. So I was like, bet. So I, went to Portugal and went to Spain, and I took that time to really figure out who I was, what I wanted to do. And I remember laying on the beach in Portugal. I sound so bougie. I love it.
I love that, though.
I love it.
Y'all
just look. Black people deserve to be on beaches. We deserve luxury. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And deserve to have real estate in those beaches too.
Oh, the height. Episode 3. And I remember laying on the beach, being like, I'm fucking amazing.
Period.
Like, I'm amazing. I can do this. Like, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And I ran full force after that. And also in that moment, after that moment, I literally I was staying in a hostel at that time. Because baby, I had no money for no real hotel, but you know what I'm saying. But hostels were cheap though. They were nice. Mm-hmm. I had a nice hostel. Don't you ever think I'm gonna settle for no raggedy ass
also,
hostel.
We're talking about hostels in Portugal.
Exactly.
Versus New York City.
Mm-hmm. If you want a real hostel, go to Europe, not New York. Thank you. And I remember going back to my hostel. No one was there. And I remember looking in the mirror and telling myself, you are beautiful. You look good. You are a badass. You are the shit. And whatever you put your mind to, baby, you will succeed. And from there, I switched. My mindset changed. I loved myself. I learned to love who I was. And I was like, every woman should feel this way. And so instead of just being, a regular personal stylist where I'm like, okay, this is what you should wear for this event, to look all pretty and stuff. It's like, I call myself mainly a style coach because I teach you how to dress. I teach you how to shift your mindset and to really dig into the past of what has prevented you from being confident in yourself and being confident in who you are and what you have to offer. And then we basically go through there's a whole program. Each week we go through different parts of your life, different parts, of my framework that I have, because there's vision, there's confidence, and action. Once you have the vision of who you want to be, how you want to be perceived, you're able to create this dream board, vision board of who you are, of who your future self, this dream board of, who you want to be. And then we have confidence. Now, we need to remind you that you are worthy of being this dream person. You are worthy of dressing audaciously. You're worthy of starting this business that you want to start. You're worthy of just all the great things that comes into being you. We work on your mindset. We work on your fears. And then we have action. You can't have a vision and expect that vision to come into fruition if you don't take action. And so in, the last part of that program, we talk about taking action. And I push you to, do challenges where, you're dressing up all week and you're really evaluating how people perceive you. And literally on our way here, you know how many people were like, you guys look fabulous. And I was like, thank you, in my Prada sunglasses. Okay.
Period.
My green fur coat and my Coach bag. Like, look, period. And then we have this. He was walking around his Fendi, baby. Baby got a Fendi.
Handmade Italian earrings, bitch. Period.
When you look good, people notice. When you look good and feel good about yourself, people notice. Conversations happen. And I want those conversations to continue happening for women, Black women, people of color.
Yeah.
And so that leads me into asking you, Marquez.
Call him Marquez.
Call him Marquez. Don't you call him Marquez. He's going to have a problem. As a...
Diamond only.
As a queer individual and entrepreneur and director in the workforce, how has it experience been for you? And just tell us about, your struggles, what you've gone through, and how you've overcome that.
I had to take a breath for that one, y'all.
Deep breath.
It has been a great learning and unlearning process. And it has been a huge journey of confidence. It has been just learning more about who I am, too. It really has been like a huge, like, personal journey. It hasn't been easy, but it's been really worth it to be on a journey to improving my mental well-being. And being in therapy has really been something that has made me so much more confident in just who I am as a human, just as a being. And being able to tap into my discomforts, being able to tap into things that I did in the past and ways that I would have responded, or moments of people pleasing, moments of being quiet, or just, ways to survive or to get by. Learning that those were survival tactics that I had developed as a child, because my journey, I mean, it started when I was a kid. It's like I was exposed to a lot of things growing up because my parents were rather nomadic when I was a child. We moved around from the Midwest to all up and down the West Coast. My mom was a travel nurse, and that took us to lots of different places, different states. One place that we had lived the longest was the San Francisco Bay Area. And I mean, it's the gayest capital, at least in America. It really just was an opportunity to be exposed to so many different kinds of people and so many kinds of orientations and all different kinds of ethnicities and different kinds of food, different cultures, different mindsets, different ways that people approach their lives, and all kinds of creativity, from traditional to anything that was contemporary, anything that was 2D or something that was in motion, like performing arts. It was a time for me to really just absorb a lot of things and to be able to be inspired and be informed at the same time. And as a queer individual being in corporate America, it hasn't been easy at all, whatsoever. It really hasn't. And that is not something that I'm ever going to sit here and be like, oh, it's been an absolute grand time, because it hasn't. What I will say, though, is I don't allow the negativity to hold me. I don't allow other people's thoughts or their opinions or their negativity to hold me down, because I know how that feels to have someone else's thoughts hold me in place, to control me. And I refuse to let other people control me. I refuse to be a victim. I will not be a victim. Toni Morrison is a huge inspiration for me, because she was someone who would say that she refused to be a victim to oppression. And that was very impressionable for me when I was, learning about activism, when I was learning about civil rights, when I was just learning about me. I was tapping into making an effort to tap into things that school did not teach me, to tap into resources and to provide myself access to resources that the educational system did not present to me in history class or in art class.
Because we deserve that access.
Because we do.
Yeah.
We do. That is access that we deserve. And for specific reasons, it's not really provided. Maybe in bits and pieces here and there, or in specific, African American studies classes, you may be presented that kind of information. However, again, it's the tip of the iceberg. There is so much knowledge and there's so much wealth in that knowledge. Knowledge is power. It
Yes.
really is. And I feel
Yes.
like the more that we know,
Mm-hmm.
the more that we're responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's liberating, because the more that we know, the more that we can be more in control and responsible just for ourselves.
Yeah.
Our parents can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
Really, they can only do so. School
Mm-hmm.
can only teach us so much. It's not going to teach us or prepare us for everything.
Mm.
There has to be a time where we have to choose that we are going to, finish the work to raise ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that Kerry Washington had said was, there's only so much our parents can do. And it's like at some point we have to make that choice to finish raising ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
again, that just places us in a position of power. And it's the negative thought is, oh my gosh, like I have to do all these things by myself, or I have to, I have all this weight and, all of that. And it's like, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And you don't want it to be easy, because when it is easy, you get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
When it is easy, you're not taking note of what you have. Yeah. When it is easy, you're not being challenged. You're not being pushed. You're not learning.
Right.
You're not. You're stagnating. Mm-hmm. You are in a place where you're really not moving forward. You're just kind of staying somewhere. And an example that I have of, just kind of like having developed a little bit of comfort was when I was working for an advertising company. Mm-hmm. And I was working remotely for this company here in Texas. They're based in New York. I was back and forth between them, like whenever they would have company events or things like that. I was their senior visual designer, and I had led them through a rebrand. I had taken that rebrand and I had applied it to all of their visual communication materials, like anything that was a part of that design system, from sales materials to their client showcase app, to their website, to any kind of print materials, like their design element system, templates, like all kinds of things that not just the creative team would use, but also that other teams would use, from like account management to sellers to production, the higher ups themselves, the stakeholders themselves. It's like it was a lot of how should I say, interactive design that I was doing. It's a lot of human-centered design that I was doing, because these are things that people were going to take and they were going to use and build upon without me having to be there. It just came to a point where the amount of work was so overwhelming. However, I was being, you could say, compensated in a way that was higher to certain counterparts of mine because they were a New York-based company. However, that wasn't something that ultimately was of value to me, because as much as the opportunity was worth it to me, because it really did build me up, I had an opportunity to own a lot of things, and also be very young and being able to be the say-so in their visual communication is huge. That's major. And this is $1 billion advertising company. This is an ad tech company. They're making money. And it was worth it. It was. I will say that it was worth it. Overall, there was more of a cost to me staying at that company than there was to me taking a leap of faith and letting myself fly towards something that would give me the growth that I was seeking. Yeah. So while I was collecting a paycheck, and while I was doing, a lot of work for this company, which looks good on a resume, it wasn't entirely fulfilling. It really wasn't, and I value being fulfilled.
Yeah, we all should.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I value being able to love and to enjoy the things that I do. for my 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, at that point, it's like I'm more so getting to do it than I have to do it, right? And so I did not have a job lined up afterwards. However, for me, I was willing to take that leap of faith and just see where I landed.
Yeah.
Because the longer that I stayed in that position, the longer that I just continued to allow myself to be in that environment where, yeah, I was doing all these things, but I'm being overwhelmed. I'm working not just one position, but I'm working multiple positions because they did not have the capacity to bring on a full-blown creative team for me to be able to have at my side. The longer that I stayed in that, the longer I was denying myself an opportunity elsewhere. And honestly, you know, it was a fear that I really needed to work over, that like, I'm not going to fall back into a position of poverty. There is no evidence to support that narrative in which I have created inside of my mind. And as much as that is a valid fear, I needed to put in the work to identify what is the root cause of this fear. And that was something I had worked through in therapy. You know, was I directly was just like, I'm in this position and I know that I can do other things. It's just that I have this fear. So we worked through that fear, and it really came down to that I was worried about falling back into a place of poverty because that was something that I had a taste of as a child. And it was something that disturbed me. And it was something that I carried with me. And once I was able to understand that, yes, this is a valid fear because this is a place that I was before as a kid, that is not something that is guaranteed that will happen to me. Because even if I had to, you know, take up another job, like in between, you know, like waiting tables, or if I needed to mop floors or something, it's like I was willing and ready and prepared to do what I needed to do to keep myself where I was. I had just moved into a new apartment, a new environment, a new neighborhood. I was closer to the creative co-working space that I love, that I enjoyed, called Flock. Y'all look them up. They are fabulous, absolutely amazing. Like
Flock.
The group, literally, the group of people that are here really have become a part of my tribe because they love me and they accept me for who I am, and that is not something I was willing to lose. And I feel like having that mindset was something that continued to push me to keep putting in the work. Don't stop. Don't let something take you away from what you have, because it doesn't have to take you away from what you have. There is a way. Instead of sitting around and being like, oh, I can't have it, I'm like, how can I continue to have what I want, what it is that I desire, what it is that I deserve? And so having taken that leap of faith, it really did open a lot of room and a lot of space for the opportunity that I have now. And I really believe that, period.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
It's your magazine at this point.
It's just something where I really have enjoyed the work. I really have enjoyed the work. Like, it really is an environment, it really is a place that has afforded me so much opportunity since day one.
I love that.
It really has.
And that's what we need in order for us to thrive.
Yes.
Like, I'm tired of seeing us take up these raggedy jobs that don't compensate us, and we're just miserable. And even if they do pay us well, pay us way over 6 figures, and we're still unhappy, it's like, at the end of the day, you're still unhappy. What are you doing? You're just wasting your life for another company that can replace you in a snap of a finger. So it's kind of like,
you
might as well do something that you love.
Exactly.
You know?
Money is a tool. Money is a tool that can help us have experiences. Money is a tool that can help us have fulfilling experiences. It can be something that can, you know, get us that apartment that we want to have, or to get us that car, or to get us those shoes or that dress. Or, you know, it can be something that's like, it helps us maintain therapy. It helps us have healthcare, you know, which, I mean, access to healthcare is a shit show in this country. So my journey as a queer person of color has been well worth it because it's been teaching me a lot about just who I am. And aside from teaching me about who I am, well, I guess it would be a part of it is just owning who I am and not being like, oh, I have to change myself in order to fit in, because that's just not going to happen. I refuse to change who I am to please someone else.
Yes.
You know, it's like the people pleaser in me is more and more coming to the realization that we don't have to live in that. We don't have to do that.
We don't.
You know, and it's like the people pleaser in me is not someone that I hate. The people pleaser in me is not someone that I don't love. I do love them. I mean, they are someone who has helped me through so much. They're someone who's helped me get by in certain situations. And that's all that they were doing.
Yeah.
That's all that they were doing is trying to protect me. That's all, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's like I've come to the realization that's like, babe, we don't have to do that anymore. You can rest.
Yeah.
Please come inside and please find rest because you do not have to live in that anymore.
Phenomenal. Wow. That is so good. Are you sure you don't want to do this podcast with me?
I am doing it with you. What are you talking about?
No, but wow.
Just, you know, as co-host.
Comes every 5 episodes. But
yes.
I'm so proud of you.
You.
You've come so far, and you're going to do so many great things. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Oh, I love you.
I love you too, boo. I love all of that you said, and I love the fact that you have embraced the fact that even though going through this journey has not been the way that you envisioned it, especially as a Black queer person, but it's something that you need to go through in order to be where you are.
Exactly.
And what is for you will come for you.
Exactly.
You know?
It was all happening for me.
Happening for you.
It was not happening to me.
Yeah. It was all happening for you. And right now you're in this amazing position that's going to take you places that's going to help you, you know, help your own magazine.
Exactly.
You know, thrive. And I am here for, I'll be buying every copy.
Period.
Y'all will too.
Come through.
Who
knows? You know, you may be styling pages. So
who never know? You never know. Rihanna might want to, you know, feature in your magazine. You know what I'm saying? Actually,
we're not going to say you may. It's at some point.
Oh.
You are.
I will be.
It's not if, it's when.
Yes, when.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so you saying that you were in this previous position that was, you know, affecting you mentally, and you knew that you had to leave, that reminds me of a previous position I was in. I was a stylist for a major luxury company, and it was an amazing experience because I was able to meet crazy good clients, okay, that have bank. I have never seen people spend so much money on a shirt before, on a freaking dress, a $10,000 dress, ma'am. What's your job? Who's your employer?
Good for her.
Just good for her.
Good for her.
Good for her. And I got to meet, you know, celebrities like Rosario Dawson, and it was a great moment for me, honestly. But the thing about this is that, yes, I could be, you know, creative in some ways, and yes, people would take my advice, and I was able to, you know, address these people. But at the end of the day, a lot of these clients were unhappy with themselves. They bought these expensive ass clothes to cover up the fact that they were still insecure, that they still were not satisfied with themselves, with their lives. And it's like, at the end of the day, you cover shit in glitter, it's still shit. So
can't polish a turd.
You can't polish a fucking turd.
You just can't.
You can't. And that is what I feel like that clients were doing. And on top of that, it was like, it started being draining mentally. physically, financially, because I was working completely and only on commission. So that means if I made 100,000 sales in 2 weeks and I get a nice, 8-9K check, the next week people can bring all that back. Then that next check is $500, $700. And now I owe the company money because they have to pay me. Oh no, a company has to pay me for labor,
Who knew?
Who knew? Who the fuck knew?
Who knew?
And it became hard because it was like, regardless of how much work I put in, I felt like I wasn't getting compensated enough for it. Because people will buy things, but they will return them. And then it's just kind of like, I'm going in this constant cycle of, look, I got bills. Okay? These bills don't wait for nobody.
They don't.
They don't.
They really don't.
There's no waiting. There's no like, oh, well, give you grace. There is no grace. Okay? And it was getting really to the point where I was just digging myself deeper into debt, trying to survive. And I really needed to let that job go. And so at some point I finally did. And I moved out of the city that I was in and moved to a different city with my man. And and it was a great transition for me because I was able to, find my peace, able to step back and be like, okay, what do I want this business to say? What do I want it to, who do I want it to serve? What do I want it to be the mission and the purpose of it? And since I have taken that step back and, figuring out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to help people, who I wanted to serve, started getting clients. And I love it. I love it. So when you truly just step into what your purpose is and take these risks, I'm a crackhead for risks. Okay. I'm a crackhead. You know what I'm saying? And it is so important to take those risks. As your Rich podcast auntie, I am here to motivate you to take those risks and to fully step into that badass you that is there. So, to end this podcast and our first pilot OG podcast that I got to do with my bestest friend, Mark Baker-Sanchez. That's his full name. Understand it, learn it, love it. What word of advice would you give for someone who is Black, person of color, who's queer? What advice would you give them what advice would you give them in order to really just understand who they are, to really step into, their talents and their skills? What advice would you give them to who's afraid, of pursuing that person they've always dreamed of being?
Yeah. Let go of perfection.
Oof. Perfection is the enemy of progress.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. And the reason why is because perfection puts us into a box. I mean, when you are so focused on the end result of something, you lose sight of the process. The process is where you get to just have fun and you get to make mistakes. Fuck up. Let yourself make mistakes.
Be best friends with mistakes.
Yes. Issa Rae said that.
She did.
Issa Rae said that. She did.
That's crazy. She did.
She did. She said that she herself was friends with making mistakes. There is so much value in that because you learn. It's not a failure unless you make it a failure. It's really information. It really is information, and it teaches you. It shows you. It's a valuable lesson that allows you to learn, okay, here is what didn't go well. Why? And here are some things that I can think about and then take action on so that the next time it will be an improvement. Let yourself continue to test trial. And I feel like perfection isn't just something it's like that we're doing for a job or like it's an art piece that we're working on or, a design or, a styling gig or whatever. It's like it could just be us too. It's like you don't do your workout because you're worried about looking like some influencer or someone else that you see on Instagram.
Better not be.
Or that you've seen on TikTok. It's like you are focused on someone else. Quit looking at someone else.
Comparison.
Quit comparing yourself to other people.
Comparison steals joy.
And I don't think that there's a problem with looking at someone and being like, wow, I am really interested in having what they have. Like, looking at what they have and be like, wow, I want that too.
Use it as inspiration.
Yes, use it as inspiration. And you know what? Some of those people share information.
They do.
On how they got to where they were. Yeah. Like Rachel Rogers.
Oh my God.
There's and then at that point it's like you're not worried about having to look like someone else or act like someone else or be like someone else. You know, it's like you release yourself of those expectations and now you are opening room for play. But if you're trying to be perfect, you don't have room for play. You have confined yourself, you've restricted yourself, you have enslaved yourself to something that you do not have to have. It's let that go. Let go of the perfection so that you can start to explore more, so that you can start to allow yourself to try things that maybe you thought were uncomfortable. That you thought were uncomfortable or that made you uncomfortable. It's like, I would never wear that color. Why? And what's holding you back from test trialing it? What's holding you back from trying it out? You know? Because that idea of perfection or that idea of like what other people think is holding you back. And perfection is something where it's like we are always thinking about what someone else is going to think or how someone else is going to respond. And honestly, a lot of that is ourselves. Telling ourselves negative things. It's like we're worried about like our own negative thoughts. And that gets in the way. Perfection it's a disease. Yeah. And it is something that is passed down from generation to generation. It causes generational trauma with all kinds of people from every background and every continent, everywhere. Perfection is an oppressor. Yeah. It really is an oppressor.
I've had to learn that too. Your girl she has another business. She is the CEO of Perfection LLC. Okay. I had to break out of that. And I am working on it every day because I am still a perfectionist. That is my weakness. I'm a perfectionist. But I have learned that if you are trying to be perfect in everything, you're not going to make progress. You're going to be stuck. And as Black people, as people of color, as marginalized people, we have got to stop being stuck. We don't have time to be stuck anymore. Exactly. It's time for us to show up, show out, wear the big ass sun hat, take up space.
Wear the big glasses. When in doubt, wear the big glasses.
What did your friend call the glasses?
You need a visible barrier.
A visible barrier.
You need a visible barrier. Then go for the glasses. Quoting Nico.
Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci,
Fendi.
Fendi.
And you know, it may sound contradictory. I do also find that there is value in embracing the perfectionist within us. Yes. Because I feel like for those at least who really just, we care, a lot of the times the perfection can come from a place of that we really care. Yes. It can trigger the caretaker that is within us. Yeah. And or the overachiever, or not the overachiever. I would say just like the person who's willing to go the extra mile.
Yeah, and just someone who like really cares about their clients so much or the people that they serve so much that they want it to be great. They want it to change your life. And so I've realized too that there is a positive in being a perfectionist. It just means that you take extra care in whatever service or product that you create, that you sell. Take extra care, and people will see that and they're like, yes, I want to invest in that. Yeah. I want that, and I want to invest in them so they can continue doing this work for people and change the fucking world.
Right. So, and I believe that the work can start is to just have the realization that not everything is going to be of that level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
It's okay.
Not everything needs to be or will be award-winning work.
Yeah.
But also, let's just get serious that awards are subjective.
Mm-hmm.
They are subjective.
Oh, child.
So it's like...
That's another podcast.
Yes. Someone, an award may be given to something, but that doesn't mean that, like, it's universally seen as great.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all right. That just means it's not for everybody, which is how to just... That's how I think it ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has different tastes. And so it's like, not everything that you do, everyone is going to like.
Right.
But how great is that? Because then you learn, like, okay, who is my audience?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like, not everyone's going to like you either. So it's like, okay, who is my tribe? Who are the people that get me, that understand me? Instead of being like, oh, I need to be this, or I need to be that, or I need to change this, I need to alter that to fit in with all these other people. It's like, that's just going to overwhelm you, and you're abandoning yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, how can people genuinely vibe with you if you don't know yourself, or if you can't really even vibe with yourself because you're so worried about living in a persona for other people?
Yeah.
Or living in a persona that, say, your parents had created for you, or that your friend group has created for you, and now you feel restricted. You're in that box to have to live up to those quote-unquote expectations that you didn't make or that you didn't ask for. However, it's like, you have the power and the ability to say enough. Because, again, perfection is an oppressor, and we do not have to live in oppression.
We're done with that.
We're done.
Yeah.
Fully.
Like your magazine.
Period.
Click.
Exactly. Perfection is a social construct. It really is.
I love that. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Baker-Sanchez, for being a part of my first episode of my podcast, Talk Your Shit. Because we will be talking a lot of shit in this podcast. We'll be talking a lot of shit.
And it's talking your shit will never end.
Never. Never.
And it was my honor.
Oh.
It was my honor.
Ugh, thank you so much.